When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that looking out of bed he could scarcely distinguish the transparent window from the opaque walls of his chamber. Marley's ghost bothered him exceedingly. Was it a dream or not? Scrooge lay in this state until he remembered on a sudden that the ghost had warned him of a visitation when the bell tolled 12. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past, and considering that he could no more go to sleep than go to heaven, this was perhaps the wisest resolution in his power. He was more than once convinced he must have sunk into a doze unconsciously and missed the clock. At length it broke upon his listening ear.
Itself and nothing else.
Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, I tell you, by a hand. And Scrooge, starting up into a half-recumbent attitude, found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it. It wore a tunic of the purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and had its dress trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was its hat. When it was removed from the crown of its head, there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What business brings you here?
Your welfare. Rise and walk with me.
The spirit's grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. Scrooge rose, but finding that the spirit made towards the window, clasped his robe in supplication.
Oh, I am immortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Good heaven! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
A bit of cinder irritates my eye.
You recollect the way?
Remember it. I could walk it blindfold.
Let us go on.
They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting towards them with boys upon their backs, who called to other boys in country gigs and carts driven by farmers. All these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it.
Ho there!
Oh, these are but shadows of the things that have been. They have no consciousness of us.
The travelers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them everyone.
Willie, old Sam, dear Madge. Why do I rejoice beyond all bounds to see them? Why do my eyes glisten and my heart leap up as they pass? Why am I filled with gladness to hear them give each other Merry Christmas? What was Merry Christmas to me? What good had it ever done me?
In that moment, the spirit stopped before a familiar building.
The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know him.
What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas.
Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the room became a little darker and more dirty. The panels shrunk, the windows cracked, fragments of plaster fell out of the ceiling, but how all this was brought about, Scrooge knew not. He only knew that it was quite correct, that everything had happened so that there he was, alone again, when all the other boys had gone home for the jolly holidays. He was not reading now, but walking up and down despairingly. Scrooge looked at the ghost, and with a mournful shaking of his head, glanced anxiously towards the door. It opened, and a little girl, much younger than the boy, came darting in.
Dear, dear brother, I've come to bring you home, dear brother, to bring you home, home, home.
Home, little fan.
Yes, home, for good and all. Home, forever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be. He spoke so gently to me one dear night when I was going to bed that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. We're going to be together all the Christmas long and have the merriest time in the world.
You are quite a woman, little fan.
Always a delicate creature, whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right.
She died a woman and had, as I think, children.
One child?
True. Your nephew, Fred.
Yes.
Although they had but that moment left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city where shadowy passengers passed and repassed. It was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here, too, it was Christmas time again. But it was evening, and the streets were lighted up. They stopped before a warehouse.
Do you know this door?
Know it? I was apprenticed here.
Yo-ho there, Ebenezer!
Why, it's old Fezziwig. Bless his heart, it's Fezziwig alive again.
Here, Dick!
Dick Wilkins, to be sure. Bless me, yes. There he is. He was very much attached to me, was Dick. Poor Dick. Dear, dear.
Yo-ho, my boys! No work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here. Hilly-ho, Dick. Cheer up, Ebenezer.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
In came Mrs. Fezziwig, one vast smile, In came the 3 Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came the 6 young followers whose hearts they broke. In came all the young men and women employed in the business. In came the housemaid with her cousin. In came the cook with her brother's friend, the milkman. In came the boy from over the way. In they all came, one after another. Some shyly, some boldly, some gracefully, some awkwardly, some pushing, some pulling. In they all came, anyhow and anywhere. Anyway, they all went, 20 couples at once, hands half round and back again the other way, down the middle and up again, round in various affectionate groupings. Then old Fezziwig, clapping his hands to stop the dance, cried out,
Well done!
There were more dances, and there was cake, and there was a great piece of cold roast, and there were mince pies and plenty of beer. When the clock struck 11, the ball broke up.
Good night.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Good night. Have a lovely Christmas.
Good night. Merry Christmas!
This was such a wonderful party.
Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took their stations, one on either side of the door, and shaking hands with every person individually as he or she went out, wished him or her a Merry Christmas.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Ebenezer. Good night, Dick. And a very Merry Christmas to you both.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
And here is a shiny half-crown each to brighten the day for you.
Thank you, sir. And a Merry Christmas to you, too.
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. 3 or 4, perhaps? Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
It isn't that. It isn't that, Spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. Say that his power lies in words and looks, in things so slight and insignificant that it is impossible to add and count them up. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it costs a fortune.
What is the matter?
I would like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now, that's all.
My time grows short. Quick!
This produced an immediate effect, for again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of life. His face had not yet the harsh and rigid lines of later years, but it had begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a mourning dress, in whose eyes there were tears.
It matters little. To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you. Have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you, am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so until, in good season, we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you that you were not what you are. I am. That which promised happiness when we were one in heart is fraught with misery now. How often and how keenly I have thought of this I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it, and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature? In an altered spirit? In another atmosphere of life? Another hope as its great end? In everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight? If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? No.
You think not?
I would gladly think otherwise if I could, heaven knows. I release you, with a full heart, for the love of him you once were. You may have pain in this. The memory of what is past half makes me hope you will. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?
One shadow more.
No more! No more! I don't wish to see it. Show me no more.
But the relentless ghost forced him to observe what happened next.
Mother, Father is coming!
And he has presents.
Yay!
Be patient now, give him room.
And now Scrooge looked on more attentively than ever when the master of the house, having his daughter leaning fondly on him, sat down with her and her mother at his own fireside. And when he thought that such another creature, quite as graceful and as full of promise, might have called him farther and been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life, his sight grew very dim indeed.
Belle, I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon.
Who was it?
Guess.
How can I? I don't know.
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and it was not shut up, and he had a candle inside. I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon the point of death, I hear. And there he sat alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Spirit, remove me from this place.
I told you these were shadows of the things that had been. That they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
In the struggle, Scrooge observed that the light of the spirit was burning high and bright, and dimly connecting that with its influence over him, he seized the spirit's hat and pressed it down upon its head. The spirit dropped beneath it, so that the extinguisher covered its whole form, but though Scrooge pressed it down with all his force, he could not hide the light which streamed from under it in an unbroken flood upon the ground. He was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom. He gave the hat a parting squeeze, and had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep.